gafara daga nan ka je ka koma wallahi zan kashe mutum injini ya fita a cikin dan sanda na wallahi zan kashe mutum wallahi zan kashe mutum wace kare an ko
ya kashe mana mutane sama da mutum 8 a unguwarmu da wanda ya ji da wanda bai gani ba wasu ma suna cikin gidansu a kwance ya kashe har da yaro yan cikin Allah kai mana maganin wannan mulkin zalunci da ake mana mulkin kama karya Allah kai mana maganin wallahi tallahi sai to bisa wannan jawo mana nasu wallahi to bisa
we can no longer keep quiet.
So in this video we shall be bringing to you the latest on the Nigerian protest and how many people have been killed so far and where and how many might likely go down again. This man even said it is better I die in the hands of Tinubu's government than in the hands of bandits.
For me as a person, it is better I die in the hand of Tinubu than to die in the hand of bandits.
Well, do well to watch this video to the very end so you don't miss out on any part of the story. As we all know, the ongoing protest in Nigeria centers around economic hardship and governance issues, and this protest has resulted in significant turmoil and tragic loss of life. The protest, driven by widespread frustration over economic conditions and government policies, have seen widespread participation and varied responses from both the government and security forces. In fact, the president delivered what many termed an empty speech this morning. According to them, the speech doesn't really address the fight or struggle of the poor protesters, and that it lacks ingredients to addressing the issues faced by Nigeria, and it also lacks the ingredients to address wasteful public office spending and pilfering of supposedly scarce resources of the country. Only threats were unleashed against Nigerian citizens. Before we continue, let's listen to some part of the speech.
I speak to you today with a heavy heart and sense of responsibility, aware of turmoil and violent protests unleashed in some of our states. Notably, among the protesters were young Nigerians who desired a better and more progressive country where their dreams, hope, and personal aspiration will be fulfilled. I am especially pained by the loss of lives in Borno, Jigawa, Kano, Kaduna, and other states, the destruction of facilities in some states, and the wanton looting of supermarkets and shops, contrary to the promise of protest organizers that the protest will be peaceful across the country. The destruction of properties set us back as a nation, as scarce resources will be again used to restore them. I commiserate with the families and relations of those who have died in the protest. We must stop further bloodshed, violence, and destruction. As the president of this country, I must ensure public order in line with...
So the economic situation in Nigeria has been deteriorating, marked by increase in food prices, dramatic increase in fuel costs, and general standard of life. Inflation rates have escalated, particularly affecting essential commodities and leading to widespread hardship amongst the populace in Nigeria. The people have been suffering. A significant factor in the recent economic downturn has been the removal of fuel subsidies by the government of Nigeria, which led to a tripling of fuel prices. Food inflation, which is reportedly to be around 40%, has particularly suffocated households. This inflation affects basic foods such as rice, bread and vegetables, making it difficult for many families to afford basic necessities of life. Families are struggling to feed, while the elected representatives have been squandering government funds on acquisition of the latest cars, a presidential yacht, and new jets for themselves. The economic hardship is compounded by unemployment and underemployment, leaving many without a reliable source of income. The governance issues in Nigeria are deeply rooted and multifaceted. Corruption, inefficient public services, and a lack of accountability are recurring themes in the Nigerian system. The current administration, led by President Bola Tinubu, has faced criticism for its handling of these issues. Despite promises of reform and economic improvement, many Nigerians feel that tangible progress has not been made. The build-up to the current protest involved several key events and decisions that ignited public outrage. The removal of fuel subsidies was a significant trigger, while the government argued that subsidies were unstable and that their removal would eventually stabilize the economy. The immediate impact on fuel prices was felt nationwide. This decision, coupled with existing economic struggles, set the stage for widespread discontent and protest. Government's efforts to mitigate the impact, such as raising minimum wage levels and distributing food aid, were seen by many as insufficient and poorly implemented. The perception that the government was not doing enough to alleviate the hardship further fueled the protest. And as we all know, protests are not new to Nigeria. The country has a history of civil unrest related to governance and economic conditions. The EndSARS movement in 2020, which protested against police brutality, evolved into broader demonstration against bad governance and corruption. The recent protest is seen as a continuation of these frustrations, now intensified by the dire economic conditions and hardship of the country. The protests began in major cities across Nigeria, including Lagos, Abuja, Kano, and Kaduna. These demonstrations were organized by a coalition of civil society groups, labor unions, and youth organizations. The central theme was the demand for better governance and economic relief. Protesters called for measures to address inflation, reduce fuel prices, and tackle corruption. The government's response to the protest has been a mix of attempts at dialogue and forceful suppression. Security forces, including the police and military, are deployed to key protest venues. And here is an elaboration on the casualties of the 2024 End Bad Governance protest in Nigeria. Reports from human rights organizations and local media outlets indicate that between 13 to 21 protesters have lost their lives since the protest began on August 1, 2024. The death occurred in various locations across the country, including Lagos, Abuja, Kano, and Kaduna. The causes of the death include gunshot wounds, blunt force trauma, and tear gas. Reports has it that 6 persons were killed in Niger State, 4 killed in Borno State, 4 killed in Kano State, 3 killed in Kaduna State, 2 killed in Jigawa State, and 1 killed in Kebbi. And over 175 people have been injured during the protest, with many suffering from gunshot wounds. Many of the injured protesters have been hospitalized, with some in critical condition. Also, more than 300 people have been arrested in connection with the protest, including journalists, protest organizers, and ordinary citizens. Many of those arrested have been detained without charge or access to legal representation. Curfews have been declared in several states, including Borno, Kano, Jigawa, Yobe, and Katsina, in an effort to quell the protest. Police and military personnel have used live ammunition, tear gas, and other forceful means to disperse protesters, leading to violence and casualties. There have been reports of sexual violence, extortion, and intimidation by security forces against protesters. Human rights organizations have expressed concern over the excessive use of force by security forces and the violation of protesters' right to freedom of assembly and expression. There have been calls for an independent investigation into the violence and for those responsible to be held accountable.